Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. Thanks for joining me for a quick update on what's important in the world of work. My name is Steve Boese. Today in the Workplace Minute, we're looking into how politics has become an everyday workplace issue, whether employers like it or not. From heated social debates to high-stakes policy changes, employees are bringing their concerns, fears, and expectations to work with them. And we'll talk about why it's no longer realistic to pretend politics don't matter at work and the growing pressure from Gen Z for organizations to speak up. Let's break it down. Politics has become an everyday workplace issue, whether employers like it or not. For years, many organizations try to maintain a clear boundary. Politics belongs outside the office, work should be neutral, and everyone just focus on the job to be done. Those boundaries are now largely gone. Today, political identity is deeply intertwined with personal identity, values, safety, rights, and even people's sense of belonging and safety. When employees walk into work or log in from home, they don't leave those concerns behind. They bring them with them because they are living with them in real time. What's different now is not simply that people hold political views. That's always been true. The difference is the intensity, the visibility, and the consequences. Political debates are no longer abstract discussions about tax rates or infrastructure spending. They often touch directly on issues that impact employees' daily lives. Things like healthcare access, reproductive rights, immigration policy, racial justice, LGBTQ+ protections, gun safety, education, climate impact, and much more. For some workers, these are not disconnected policy preferences. They're personal realities. And when legislation changes or court decisions are announced, employees often feel the impact immediately, and they look to the institutions in their lives, including their employers, for signals showing support, ensuring safety, and reinforcing their values. And technology amplifies all of this. Social media ensures that major political events unfold in real time, often with emotional intensity and misinformation layered in. Employees are reading headlines between meetings, they're seeing posts from friends and family, and they're encountering news and opinions constantly. It's unrealistic to expect them to compartmentalize these influences completely. In many workplaces, Slack channels, internal social platforms, and even informal conversations quickly become venues where political topics surface, whether leaders intend for that to happen or not. Some organizations respond by trying to enforce strict neutrality rules. No political discussions at work, no visible affiliations via the clothing, signs, decor, no commentary at all. While understandable from a risk management perspective, this approach is increasingly difficult to implement and can even backfire. Employees may interpret silence at work as indifference or lack of empathy, especially when events feel urgent or threatening to them. Imagine a business in downtown Minneapolis that tried to prohibit employees from discussing or even acknowledging the events happening in that community this year. In extreme cases, attempts to suppress conversation can damage trust more than the conversations themselves would have. And at the same time, leaders do have legitimate challenges. Workplaces are often diverse in many aspects. Employees hold a wide range of views. Taking a strong position on a political issue can alienate some, whether they're stakeholders, employees, customers, partners, investors. There are sometimes legal considerations, reputational risks, and operational distractions to manage. This is why many executives wish politics would simply stay outside the workplace. But wishing can't make it so. The workplace exists within society, not apart from it. And generational dynamics are accelerating these shifts. Gen Z employees in particular are more likely to expect their organizations to articulate values and act upon them. They've grown up in an environment where brands, institutions, and public figures routinely comment on social issues. Silence can be interpreted as complicity, not neutrality. For this generation, work is more than a transaction of their labor for pay. It's also a reflection of identity and purpose. They want to know that their employer stands for things, how it treats people, and whether it aligns about their own beliefs about fairness, inclusion, and responsibility. This doesn't mean that every company must issue statements on every political development. In fact, reactive commentary can sometimes create more problems than it solves. But it does mean leaders need a framework for when and where to speak, how to support employees through contentious events, and how to maintain a climate of respect even when views differ sharply. Clear values, consistent policies, and open communication matter far more than ad hoc responses driven by public pressure. And I think it's also important here to distinguish between partisan politics and human impact. Employees may not be asking their employer to endorse a specific political party, but they are asking for acknowledgement that real people are affected by what is happening in the world. Simple actions like offering flexibility during stressful events, providing access to counseling resources, ensuring physical safety, reaffirming anti-harassment policies, and fostering an inclusive environment for all, and even created structured forums for dialogue that can all demonstrate care without turning the organization into a political actor. Ultimately, the goal shouldn't be to eliminate disagreements. Healthy organizations can tolerate and even benefit from diverse perspectives. The goal is to prevent polarization from eroding collaboration, psychological safety, and performance. This requires leaders who are skilled communicators, who are emotionally intelligent, and willing to engage rather than retreat. And that brings us to a harder truth. There are moments in history when neutrality itself is perceived as a choice to maintain comfort rather than confront difficult realities. In times of high tension or rapid change, employees watch closely to see whether leaders will stand for something beyond the quarterly results. They are evaluating courage, authenticity, and integrity. My view is that it is increasingly naive to believe that we can simply turn off politics at the front door of the workplace, or at the local diner, or the ball stadium, or the movie theater. Politics today is not just about elections and other boring policy debates. It's about identity, belonging, safety, and the future people imagine for themselves and their families. With the stakes that high, disengagement is not experienced as professionalism. It's often experienced as absence. So what should leaders do? Start by acknowledging these realities. Provide clarity about organizational values. Create norms for respectful dialogue. And protect employees from harassment and intimidation. Offer support when events cause fears and disruptions. And be thoughtful and not reactive about when your organization speaks publicly. Sometimes leadership requires more than thoughtful neutrality. Sometimes it requires taking a stand. Not on every issue, not impulsively, and not for performative reasons, but because silence would contradict the values the organization claims to hold. Employees, especially younger ones, can tell the difference between principled action and convenient silence. We're living in a period in the United States where social and political tensions run high, and the consequences of public policy decisions feel immediate and personal. In moments like these, leaders, business owners, and citizens alike all face a choice. We can pretend these issues don't affect us, or we can acknowledge that they do and try to act accordingly. So my call to action is simple, but not easy. Lead with clarity about what you believe, treat people with dignity even when they disagree, and protect the safety and humanity of your workforce. And recognize that avoiding the conversation entirely is itself a message, and one that may be interpreted as indifference or fear. Because ultimately, hiding from reality does not create stability, it creates uncertainty. And in uncertain times, what employees need most from leaders is not perfection, but courage. That's it for today's Workplace Minute. Thanks so much for listening, and a big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the Workplace Minute. This episode made you think about how you and your organization are navigating these challenging times. Please share it with a colleague. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 Advisors.